Hello and welcome to another episode of the Balls Deep podcast. I'm joined by my co-host Tactical Potato. Say hi.
Hi.
And today's topic is content creation. Content creation is something that both me and John do, whether it's Twitch, YouTube, or other social media platforms or whatever else. And I feel even if you're not someone who does content creation, I think it might be a topic which people would be interested in, considering the vast shift of people that have gone from watching standard television to watching YouTube or Twitch or whatever other social media that people consume. I feel like it could be a very, very interesting topic to jump into. So this episode, we're going to go balls deep into content creation. I really wanted to say that.
Fuck's sake. And I was going to make an OnlyFans joke there when you said about what you watch, and I'm glad I didn't because you followed it up with balls deep. So
going balls deep into OnlyFans. Oh no.
You had to pay for that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a Twitch subscription, but you get a lot more out of it.
Yeah. A lot more frustration out of it. That's what you get.
Anyway, serious face. So for the people who live under a rock, you don't know what Twitch or YouTube or anything else is. It's basically the new form of how people consume media, I suppose, or entertainment. Back in the day, people used to watch television. Now a lot of people get their entertainment from watching other people do stupid shit or videos on YouTube or, stuff like that. And we're just going to be talking about how growth is on both of those platforms and how different it can be as well. Because like growing on Twitch has a certain, I guess, style versus something like when you grow on YouTube. And John, you do YouTube, so I figured you'd be the best person to talk about something like growth on YouTube as well. Like, for example, like when I started on stream, it's a matter of being consistent, playing games and all that kind of stuff and building up a community from there. But YouTube is a lot more different compared to that as well. So how would you say that is different?
You need the consistency with YouTube as well. If you dip off with making videos, like when I was starting out, it was trying to get videos out a certain amount of times a week that were covering topics that people want to see. Like not everything you upload will be something people will want to see. So I've always I remember watching, I don't think it was Jack Frag saying, the whole quality over quantity thing.
Yeah.
So you left putting up videos that people will actually want to see, whether it's informative, whether it's funny. You should never just record something and go, oh, I like that, people will watch that, because that's not the way it'll work. Something you could put up, people will go, oh, that's a load of crap, I'm not watching that,
Yeah.
And that will instantly turn them off. But with regards to kind of having a schedule, when it came to building it with Warframe, it was always starting off with at least 3 to 4 videos a week to keep consistency so that you could keep within, I guess, YouTube's algorithm with them recommending your videos to people who are watching videos similar to yours.
Yeah.
So it's always also about, there is the aspect of Twitch to it as well in terms of communication, like responding to as many people as you can. And as your channel gets bigger, that becomes less and less possible because you get more and more comments. And it becomes harder to respond to everyone. But as you're smaller, I always tried to respond to everyone. Whether it was a positive comment or a bad comment, I'd still try to respond. But if it was like a woefully bad comment, then you wouldn't respond to it. You just delete the fucker.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you'd ban them. So there is aspects to it. And since I started doing Twitch as well, you see the kind of correlation between the two, Twitch and YouTube.
Yeah.
But consistency is the big one from what I can see both of them need, which is kind of something I don't have at the minute.
Yeah.
With regards like life and family and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
it's kind of just winging it at the minute, but consistency and actually interacting with your viewers. Like, when you do Twitch, that if you didn't interact with people in your chat, then they wouldn't be in your chat. A lot of them wouldn't be there. While at the same time, you'll always have a large amount of people that just like lurking. Like I do it myself with a lot of streams. I just sit and I don't talk, but I enjoy the content, So YouTube is kind of like that as well. But YouTube probably has the freedom for people to say whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
And feel like it's okay because you're not going to, I guess, get called out for it. Whereas if you do it in a Twitch chat tends to turn around on that person and kind of rain hell down on them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think Twitch has a very, very different, I guess, dynamic to that. And like you said, YouTube basically allows you to say a lot more things versus what Twitch would allow. And especially with the whole Twitch TOS thing being a thing, people who stream on Twitch have to be a little bit more wary about what topics are being brought up on Twitch, as opposed to, I guess, if that was brought up in a YouTube live stream or a YouTube video, it could kind of go a little bit under the radar as well, because it's a lot more broader and a little bit more lenient compared to Twitch. And yeah, I do agree with, in terms of like building a community and building up your like brand and everything else, there are similarities to it. But then also there are differences as well. One of the biggest similarities is engagement. Like you obviously mentioned, posting replies to people when they comment on the video or whatever else. You know, that shows that, you know, you are interacting with the community as well. And then it's, I guess that the comparative to that would be being on stream, and then when someone new comes into your channel and says hello, then you respond to them and you interact with them and all that kind of stuff as well. And basically just driving that sort of engagement. And the more engagement you have, the potential that people remember who you are and then follow the channel and then potentially come back to that channel, you know, next day or next week or next month or even next year. You know, it's a potential thing. Because I've actually had that happen a few times where, do you remember when the PoE dropped, update dropped for Warframe, and there was that whole sub-promotioning thing and everything else that happened, and people were coming for drops and everything else? I actually had a few people from there who showed up to the stream, and then they never showed up for like a year. And then Fortuna came out, and they came back. He's like, oh yeah, I remember you. I followed you during PoE. And then they got their drops, and then they didn't come back for about 2-3 months. And then they're finally back, and now they're an active part of the community. And it's really, really weird. But because those memorable kind of moments were created on stream, you know, it basically reminded them that, you know, this person is like that. This is the kind of mentality you have and all that kind of stuff. These are the streams which I really, really enjoyed. Might as well go watch them again. And with YouTube, I guess it's the same. If you create a video which is memorable to the person, they're more likely to watch more content from you as well, and then just carry on going from there as well.
Yeah. But YouTube, it's probably, there is definitely an aspect of, I won't say luck, because a video could go viral and it could be the worst fucking video ever in terms of quality of the video, editing, mic fucking levels and all that sort of stuff. But if your video is good, if it's got a good production quality to it, if the mic sounds good and it's not peaking, it's not ripping people's ears off, then people have a tendency to come back, because if it's worth watching, then they'll watch it. But YouTube definitely has the aspect of luck to it, in terms of the algorithm actually recommending your video to people, you know, as you're starting out, and you're kind of hoping to get that. Like, I remember when I first started doing Warframe videos, my whole thing was to try and get the videos out as soon as the update would drop on weapons and on Warframes, because then when people would search for that weapon or Warframe, the minute the update would drop, then my video would want to be one of the first ones that would show up. So you have to kind of do that. And I remember I used to stay up really late. I had terrible internet. I had like 0.2 megabyte upload, I think it was. So it took like, I think it took like 3.5 hours to upload a 4-minute video, you know? So, and I'd have to stay up. Well, I wouldn't have to stay up for that, but you'd set the schedule to go live the minute it would happen. I think there is, like, you're hoping for what you call its algorithm, YouTube's algorithm, to kind of help you along the way as well. And at times it might, and you want that video to be at least good to look at. You know, like, my accent is a huge stumbling point for a lot of people, because they can't understand some of the words I say. You know, but if the video looks good, about that. Yeah, I know, right? But if they even if they come back, they enjoy the video and they laugh at the fact that I am messing words up, then so what? If they're enjoying the video and they're having a laugh at it, then that's kind of achieving what I want, as well as getting information out there for Warframe or whatever other video I decide to make a video on, or game. I mean,
I think when it comes to content creation as well, one thing which I've noticed with myself and also some of the people who I watch on stream or YouTube, even your videos, for example, is that it's not always just a one-sided thing. It's always a two-sided thing, and depending on the interaction that you get from your community, you tend to go in a certain direction. Like, for example, you mentioned the whole, you know, having a laugh with your community as well. I'm sure when you first started, it wasn't like that. It was mostly just creating the video, upload it, respond to comments and whatever else. and then eventually it kind of changed this path as well. And that's something which is built over, you know, time, built over experience, and something which happens like even with my stream. When I first started streaming, it was just Warframe. It was just giving out information. I was literally like a wiki. And then it became less about Warframe and less about being a wiki and more about enjoying the experience and having conversations, having banter and all that kind of stuff. And that's how it kind of evolved for me as well. And that's also kind of important to, I guess, highlight that, you know, these kind of evolutions do happen, but it's important to recognize when it is a good time to evolve in a certain way, or when it's, or what sort of like humor would work in a stream, or what sort of humor would work in a video and everything else as well, where it stays within guidelines, obviously, because ultimately this would be a business if you're doing it.
Yeah.
And you have to think about potentially like if a sponsor was to come in or whatever else like that, you know, you have to think about if you start talking about some really, really dark jokes, sponsors are less likely to want to work with you because of that, you know what I mean? So there are different like deliberations that you have to consider as well when you're going through all this side of content creation. But it's always interesting to see how the community does evolve over time as well.
Yeah, and it can have a knock-on effect depending on what game you're covering. Like if you upload a video on a game that is going through a negative spell, then of course that's going to trickle down into the comment section, and it's going to have a bleed-on effect. Like someone could go to, I would imagine that someone could go to a video, because I've seen it in my comment section, and to be very positive about a game, and the next thing, the comment section is just full of nothing but negativity, and that will then kind of have a bleed-on effect to that person, because then they'll be seen as negativity with the game. And then I've seen people come, I've had comments from people where they've left a positive comment saying, oh my god, this sounds great, can't wait to get my hands on it, and then maybe a month later they'll leave a comment and it'll be, I bloody hate this game, I can't believe they're killing it. And it's literally just the bleed effect from the community and the negativity from a set group of people that is bleeding into that person, which then snowballs into everyone else. So sometimes it's highly over-exaggerated how bad something can be, just because there is a set group of people kind of being negative. And I'm sure you get it in streams whenever you do a game. Someone will come into your stream, into the comments, into the chat, and say, why are you playing this game? This game sucks. You know, and you're instantly like, well, I'm enjoying it.
Oh,
you know, so
I don't see those comments. I've got a filter. Whenever someone says this game sucks, it automatically bans them.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. They might not say it in that term, but they'll be an absolute dick in your chat, and you'll end up just having to go, I'm not listening to you. You know.
Yeah, it definitely does, and I feel, as a content creator, I feel like people definitely do have a responsibility, because ultimately, when you're making a video, when you're streaming and people are watching you, especially when they're regulars watching you, what you say has, and especially how you say it, has an effect on people, because ultimately, you know, streaming, YouTube and all that kind of stuff, you are leading a community. You are, for lack of a better word, like a leader or whatever else. And if you say negative things about something and all you spew is just negativity, then your community kind of, you know, acts in a similar light as well. And then they go spread that to other communities. Literally like what you just said. And I think it depends, like, negativity doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing though. And I think this is something which people need to understand as well, is it is okay to be negative about things when, you know, there is a problem, but there's a certain way of going about it. You don't say, this game sucks, I want them all dead. You know what? You don't say that. You say, you'll say something like, okay.
Don't say that. Don't say that. I will say that.
Yeah, because it was weird, right? Like I was talking to Rebecca like a couple of years back at TennoCon, and she was talking about how people like literally wished them dead and gave them death threats and this and that. And I was like, I know this happens. This happens to content creators. This happens to YouTubers and all that kind of stuff. But as a developer, I'm sure they face the brunt of it even more, because they're the ones making those games. And it's crazy. Like, people actually do that. And I feel, because of the availability, like the anonymity of being online, people are basically the biggest fucking keyboard warriors. Everyone turns into Tyson Fury online. As soon as they fucking go in real life, they're basically like a whippet dog. Yeah, exactly. yeah. Oh, I lost the fight because I was wearing a heavy helmet. My bad.
It was my gaming chair. You know, but what you're saying, basically, if you're a negative content creator and you just do nothing but negativity and everything is negative, every video is taking shots at that game, this game and that game and the other game,
yeah,
you end up kind of empowering that side of a community. So you end up kind of, do you know that whole old saying, you know, that your dog kind of resembles you? You ever see that where some people's
Yes.
dogs resemble them?
Yes.
Your community will then resemble you. Do you know what I mean? You're being nothing but negativity. So you're going to attract people of the same mindset. So they're going to be just spitting the same vitriol and I guess piss and vinegar that you're bloody talking about. You know, all just pure negativity. So yeah, I've tried to not be negative. I think when I was first starting YouTube, I did do a few videos where I was highly critical, and I did kind of get that kind of abusive responses and people kind of echoing my sentiments, and it made me realize that they were only saying it because I had said it, you know. And I've had people coming into my comments section of videos saying, "Oh, well, this content creator said that this weapon sucks and that weapon sucks. Why are you now saying it's good?" I'm like, well, there is two sides to every opinion. You know, everyone has different opinion. Just because one person says it sucks doesn't mean it actually sucks. You know, go out there, use it yourself and see for yourself whether you think that game sucks, that weapon sucks, or whatever you're playing yourself. Make your own mind up.
Yeah.
Don't listen to what someone else tells you, you know?
By the way, D, if you're listening, the Hind and the Kuva Hind are terrible weapons. Please buff them. Anyway, just going on like through that topic, let's just keep talking about that, like the do's and don'ts, I suppose, of like when you're doing content creation. Like obviously, you know, these are, well, I guess don't take these as gospel in the sense that, you know, this is literally how you should do something. It's more of like a guideline on what sort of works and what doesn't work. And if you are looking at getting into content creation, what sort of like success you could see if you went down a certain negative path or went down a certain other path. You know, not always about negativity, but there are different paths to success, I suppose. So
yeah,
like obviously being negative over and over, you know, that will build up a community for you in a certain light. Just like how, like, that's the thing which I've noticed as well, especially over the past years of content creation, is there are different types of content creators, and then there are people who gain success for being either very good at the game that they play or very funny at what they play, or then you also have the people who literally gain success on being negative all the time, although those are very few. And then there are people who gain success for outrage, literally outrage marketing and stuff like that. And have you ever noticed, have you seen like how there are some YouTubers or streamers or people on Instagram literally get their success through engagement because they'll make a comment or a statement or say something so outlandish that it just drives up engagement, and that's the sort of thing that they thrive on. So they're being successful, but they don't realize the damage overall it has to people's mentality as well, because all of a sudden everyone's engaging on this negative post or something else like that, and then everyone's mentality becomes like that. You know? Yeah, exactly. It's literally like you're being influenced by it, and it changes your perspective.
It's almost like they're influencers.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's just go right back to what I was saying, that they live off that. But it's bound to have a negative effect on them as well, because being nothing but negative would instantly be a non-selling point for a lot of game companies or other companies that might want you to be to show off their game or to get a sponsorship deal or to become part of their community or their member. A member of the community, and they wouldn't want that. Simply, they'll just look at your history and say, this guy's nothing but negative. You know, here he is attacking these developers happen to be our friends, but he's attacking them. You know, here he is having a go at this game, that game, the other game, or here she is doing this, that, the other on stream, calling other streamers names. So we don't want that affiliated with our brand. So by being constantly negative, you're instantly shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like when you're on YouTube versus when you're streaming that you get like a bit of a thicker shell when you're on a particular platform compared to the other one? I feel like Twitch's audience, don't get me wrong, it has this crazy side as well, but for the most part, Twitch's audience can be a lot more lenient and a lot easier to deal with as compared to, say, sometimes YouTube comments as well. Like YouTube comments can be pretty scathing. Like I've seen some of the lovely and colorful descriptions that they usually come around with for people. And have you ever had to deal with that kind of side of YouTube comments or Twitch or anything else?
Yeah, I remember getting a comment on YouTube before. No, it wasn't a comment. It was back when YouTube, you used to be able to like direct message YouTubers before the whole community tab showed up on that.
Yeah.
And I remember getting a comment from a guy, and I can't remember what I was after doing. I think it was a weapon review. I was after showing off something, and it was a powerful weapon, and they were blaming me for an inevitable nerf that was going to happen. It never happened, but in their mind, they were like, "Oh, fuck you! You're after showing off my favorite weapon. Now it's going to get nerfed. Thanks very much."
Yeah.
And then it was followed up by, "I hope your house catches fire with you and your family inside it."
Jesus Christ!
And that was my first kind of what the fuck moment.
Yeah.
By getting a response from someone where you sit back and you go, "What the? This dude getting this angry over a game?"
Pixels.
Over a pixel, over something that's got no relation to the real life, or it's not like that game's gonna put food on the table. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In that respect, like, it's not like that gun is gonna go and give them bloody soup for dinner. It's so it was the first time I got that comment.
Can I just
That's a really bad analogy. That's a really bad analogy. Ignore the soup. Ignore the gun getting the soup for dinner, right? That's not going to happen.
Of all the food items you could have said, you went with
I looked over at my other monitor, dude, and I've got Facebook on the other monitor, and there's someone pouring soup. So I instantly went, soup, that'll work.
Oh,
So
God.
I remember the first time I got those, whereas with Twitch, I've not really had those. Like, I'm not, like, I'm definitely a part-time streamer when it comes to, I don't have a schedule. I kind of stream on the whim whenever I've got free time.
Yeah.
But I've still noticed my regulars coming in, and then I noticed that when, even though they bust my balls a lot, which is Twitch chat in general, right?
Yeah.
You get your regulars, you get to know them, you get to be friendly with them, and then the minute kind of someone that would come into your Twitch chat and maybe do something like that, I've had times where I haven't had to say a damn thing to that person, where my chat literally just flipped on that person and started being abusive to them, saying, your chat turns around and goes, "What are you talking about? Why are you even here? Why the fuck are you coming into the chat just to give abuse? Get out!" And then my mods will just instantly ban. So I like that aspect of Twitch with the community, whereas with YouTube you don't see it as much as I used to.
Yeah.
I seen with Warframe's dev stream last night, and a lot of the positivity that's coming out of it. Yeah. I have seen a few negative comments on my video for the dev stream recap where they're complaining about Chroma not being able to self-damage, or they're complaining about the arcanes being not being able to double stack them.
Yeah.
And there was one guy commented, and he left a big paragraph saying, listing why he doesn't like playing the game, and why he uninstalled it 6 months ago.
What?
And then he got the response from him was by another viewer who literally just mocked him and says, "Hi, I'm here to," literally copied his response word for word, but changed some of the words to basically saying, "This is why I really hate this game, that I no longer play for 6 months, but thought I would still watch videos on it and leave negative posts and shit on the community." So that was nice to see. That's the first time that's happened, I think, on any of my videos in a while, where my community themselves just turned around to someone that was being incredibly negative and just went, "Yeah, we're not having it,"
So on that same topic, moderation of your stream and then YouTube. How do you handle it? So for me, it's quite simple. Because of how I built my stream, it's always been a very, very chill environment. And I have been lucky enough that I don't really have to do a lot of moderation work. Like, people will know what to say and they know when to stop, and they'll never go beyond it. Sometimes you do get people who go beyond, and I tell them, all right, look, stop there. Don't go beyond this, because first of all, TOS, second, it's not funny, and all that kind of stuff. And that's it. And then they stop. They apologize, and then they stop, especially irregulars. And if they're not regulars and they're trolling, then, they get banned, and who cares anyway. So I've been lucky in that regard. For moderation for my stream, it's been a lot easier. But as someone who's lurked in a lot of streams, and I've seen sometimes people literally go into other people's channels just to throw abuse at them. So how do you deal with like moderation for your stream, and then moderation for your YouTube as well, I suppose? Because I guess moderation on YouTube is a lot different, isn't it? It's basically like muting people so that they can't comment or whatever else like that.
Yeah, well, it's I think it's called kind of shadow banning
Right.
someone on YouTube, so they don't know they're banned, you know, and they can still leave comments, but only they can see the comments. So I don't see it. No one else in the chat in the comment section sees it, and it's literally just them. So where someone will come in and go, I get a lot of people basically blaming me for weapons getting nerfed because of the size of my channel and because the weapon videos and that, and they can be quite abusive. And you literally just hide this user's comment, and that's it. No one ever sees them again, but they don't know it.
Yeah.
Whereas with Twitch, you do get the odd person coming in and being abusive, and of course you've got the filters for certain words, so they can't be used.
Yeah.
So they instantly get timed out if they try to use them. But I generally just laugh it off. Like I'm not a kid. I'm Irish as well, and being abusive is something that we do to our mates. So
I'm Indian, it's the same.
Used to, yeah. So you're used to getting sworn at. You're used to getting nasty things being said to you by your own mates for giggles.
Yeah.
So when a stranger comes in and says it to you, you kind of just brush it off and then just go, meh, whatever, and then just either let your community deal with them, let one of my mods in the chat deal with them, or if my mods aren't active at the time, I just ban them myself. So it's relatively straightforward, you know. I haven't had anything really get to me yet.
Right.
You know, yet.
But have you ever had anyone who is like a regular who kind of goes a bit too much and will just keep at it, even though, you know what, like you and me, we both have a lot of tolerance, and you know what, we like, it's fine. We know it's a part of the banter, everything else, but sometimes you get that one person who doesn't realize that they're pushing the boundary,
just keep pushing the button,
yeah, and they just keep going at it and at it. So how do you deal with something like that?
It's kind of a hard one. Like at the same time, I know they're a member of your community and all of that, and it doesn't matter how long they've been a member of your community. If they keep pushing buttons every stream they're in, and they're pushing it over the edge, then they deserve the same treatment as someone who's new to your stream and being abusive. In my eyes, it doesn't, just because you're a sub and you're, I guess, getting the emotes and all that doesn't give you the privilege or the right to be an arsehole.
Exactly.
More than anything. So I tend to just say it to them on stream. I tend to just tell them to shut the fuck up and tell them that if they keep doing it, then I'm going to ban them. I don't care. Yeah. And I've had it happen a few times. Then you'll just get a message on Discord or in the Twitch chat saying, "Look, sorry, didn't realize I was pushing it over. My bad," and step it back. And that's it. And then it just goes back to normal after that, you know. Because I think Twitch chat, even though it can be a pain in the ass and it can be quite I guess, petulant, like kids. It's more of a mature. It's more of a mature. Yeah, it's more of a mature chat than what you can get on YouTube at times, you know. In saying that, like, there is some aspects of Twitch that's toxic as all fuck, but lucky enough I haven't had any of that yet.
Yeah,
you know?
Me too. I think it's very similar as well. I think there's also preparing in advance for, you know, some sort of moderation. Like the best example I can give is Warframe, because we both have a background in Warframe, right? When there first was the PoE update that came out, I knew the streams were going to explode at that point because people were coming for views and drops and all that kind of stuff. And I set up filters in advance for certain things because
I didn't realize it was going to explode to the kind of level that it did.
Yeah.
So I thought I had like 6 active mods. I was like, I'll be fine. What could go wrong? What could go wrong?
Yeah. And yeah, so I basically set up filters in advance for certain things. And basically whenever people came into the stream, you know, I just kind of, they automatically got banned and I didn't even see the message because chat was also busy and it was kind of flying, so I didn't see the message. So I had some sort of auto moderation happening there, which was fine. And then after that event and in general with streaming, I also have like some manual moderation that my community, like my moderators will do or I'll do, where if someone's saying something, you know, like first time I'll skip it, second time I'll ignore it, but I'll say, okay, calm down. And if they still don't get it, I'll ban them for 24 hours. And if they PM me on Discord, I'll tell them what they did wrong. And, you know, tell them that it's a 24-hour ban and they're fine to come back again. Because I've actually had moments where, you know, like when you had a shit day and someone's just egging it. Yeah, and they're just egging it on. I'm just like, you know what? Get out of here. I don't want to talk to you for the next day. Just get out of my life right now and let me enjoy the game that I'm doing because I need to calm down first.
Yeah,
But
well, look,
yeah.
you want your community to be, the community to be a place where you want your community to be a place where people who are, I don't, after finishing school or after coming home from work or just hanging out for the day want to come in, relax, have a bit of fun,
Yeah.
and not have to deal with shit themselves as well. You
Yeah.
know, you don't want it to be full of just people giving out and you telling people to shut up. And I'd find that a very kind of, I don't know, a bit too much to take on board if you were just trying to watch a stream
Yeah.
and it was being like that. It's like whenever you watch any of the big kind of game reveals on Twitch, you instantly have to turn the chat off because it's
Yeah.
just
It's just
nothing
flying.
but yeah.
And it's either flying or it's just flying full of shit.
It was like when that Twitch drop campaign first dropped for Warframe, I was expecting views to maybe go into the early thousands.
Yeah.
That was it. I wasn't expecting it to be up on like 20, 30, 40,000 views per some of the channels.
Yeah.
And so to be sitting there with that many views, like you see channels, huge Twitch channels getting these views, and you see that their chat is so well moderated because they've been doing it so long and they're so fucking good at it.
Yeah.
That you don't realize how fucking hard it is. So then when you end up getting a ton of viewers, thousands of viewers, the majority of which are there for the drops, they're not there because all of a sudden you just became popular overnight. They're there for the drops. So that's their main objective. So that's all the chat was going to be spamming. So it was quite daunting, quite kind of scary, I guess, to one degree.
Yeah.
The amount of just the speed the chat was going at was just a bit too much, to be honest with you. It was definitely one aspect of it that I wasn't prepared for. So my mods were working overtime, and I know Adam was trying to set up filters halfway through the stream.
I remember that.
Just to get people to stop using certain words. And you'd have one troll in the chat would use a command that wasn't a command.
And then everyone else is doing it as well, yeah.
And you're going, oh my god, you guys can't be that stupid. So yeah.
Well, luckily life teaches us every single day that people are stupid, so that's always great.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's move on to the next one. Discipline. You touched on this a little bit earlier on, and I feel that especially if you're looking at getting into content creation, this is one of the most important things. Discipline.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Just don't do it.
Don't discourage them before we even start.
Oh, you want to get into content creation, do you? Do you?
Yeah, actually, chat, don't get into it. Just watch our videos and our streams. There you go, you're sorted. But anyway, jokes apart, discipline is such an important thing, especially like with how John was talking about the YouTube algorithm, about discoverability and all that kind of stuff. It's sort of similar with Twitch as well. Like if you if you are starting out on stream and you stream once a week, but it's not on a set day and people don't know where to find you or when to find you, all of a sudden your discoverability is going down to like 0.001% or whatever else, because you don't have a consistent schedule. People don't know when they can find you live. So even if they followed you, they might be busy with some other stuff at the time, which is why it's so important that you have the discipline of sticking to the schedule that you've set. I'm not saying to you that you need to stream 5 days or 6 days a week for 8 hours, especially if you're doing it as a part-time thing, or you have other responsibilities, like say maybe you're a parent, maybe you are going to university or school, maybe your job is more demanding. There are so many different reasons, but having that discipline of saying, okay, I'm going to go live on the weekends, even if it's streaming for like say 3 hours or whatever else, you get that done. People can, because ultimately humanity, we are people of habit. And once they build that habit up of knowing that you're going to be live at this time and they can come and watch you consistently, they're more likely to stick around. I think it's the same sort of principle that applies to YouTube, but since you do YouTube more, how would you, I guess, expand on the topic of discipline, John?
It's the same. It's the same that you want to have your videos going out at a certain time every day because, like you said, it becomes a habit. People begin to realize that that's, hey, he normally releases a video at this time, so maybe there's a video, I'll check it out. So they go look for it. So it's about having that schedule as well, making sure that you upload a video. Like you don't release it at ridiculous hours where your main demographic of your channel isn't going to be awake. Like most main demographic to YouTube channels are basically in America. because that's where the biggest amount of viewership comes from. So if you're releasing your video at a certain time that's good for you, it could be midnight in America, or it's like really late at night where you're not going to get the same level of viewership.
Yeah.
So you want to be re-releasing it that's at a good time for people to actually view it. So schedule it so that it's going out at a certain time where okay, this is going to be midday in the US, or it's going to be 7 o'clock at night when everyone's home from work, and you'll get more views at that time, or early on a Saturday morning, because you know that people will be up and not working, so you'll get more views that way. So it's about having the consistency and knowing when to release, and having that schedule so that your viewers know that that's normally the time and normally the day that you release videos on.
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah, same as Twitch in a way,
And
they need to get used to what time you're doing it at.
To add on to this, especially if you're just starting out, don't worry about stats. Your idea isn't worrying about stats. It's just about doing the content creation. And trust me on this one, there are a few people who have asked me in the past about content creation. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not the biggest content creator out there and all that kind of stuff. There are a lot more people, a lot more successful, but I've been doing this enough that there are some do's and don'ts and some things that you pick up which are applicable to every single person. One of the hardest things that I've seen people do is procrastination, where they'll be like, oh, I need my audio setting to be perfect. I need my mic to be perfect. I need my game to be perfect.
Overlays.
Stop that shit. Hit the live button. If you hit the live button, you've already won half the battle, because you are now ahead of a majority of people who don't hit the live button because they're procrastinating. It is very daunting, because especially like when you're starting off and your YouTube videos get like 10 views or 20 views, or your stream has 2 people watching and people don't stick around, or there's no retention. There are different ways of dealing with it. Get your family and friends to start watching your content. Get people to engage with you by having discussions or conversations or join voice, or there are different ways of building that engagement up. But what I'm saying is, don't worry about the stats too much when you're first starting out, but as you start getting settled into it, stats do become a little bit more important, because, and the reason for that is, stats allow you to choose that, basically what John was saying about YouTube, the demographic. If you know when your YouTube video comes out and your demographic of viewership is mostly in the US, release your video at that appropriate time. If you know your stream viewers are mostly American, consider doing an evening stream if you're in the UK, so that way you can, cover more of the American audience. With Twitch, it's a bit different though, because for myself, with my job, I work at like 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm usually starting stream at noon and then ending by 6 p.m. But I go live at that time every single time. So people know that, if it's around that time, they can find me there. And like with John, when he's streaming, he streams in the evenings, and people know when he's live, they can find him there. And because of that, we've got those schedules sort of set, and we've built our communities over that in general, so people know where they can find us and what time they can find us. And that's something which we built over time. That's where the discipline and the consistency comes into play. Look at your stats and look at them in a way that you can figure out what you can take advantage of, but don't dwell on them and don't let them get you down. One thing specifically for Twitch, I'll tell you this because I've been a victim of it myself. Don't worry about your view count. The number of people...
At the end of the day, yeah, if there's people watching your stream, that's still people who have decided to take time out of their day to sit down and enjoy you, I guess, or whatever you're doing. So that's the way I always looked at it. Whether it was 10 people, whether it was 100 people, it's still people that have taken time out of their day to go and hang out with you,
Yeah.
So
it's, as they say, don't worry about the people that aren't there. Worry about the people that are there and making sure that they get the best show that you can put out. And that is what will help you with building up and expanding and doing your thing as well. And that's what I learned. Because the thing is about streaming, there are no rules. Or YouTube, there are no rules. You can have some guidance.
There is rules. You can't break the rules or you'll get banned.
Those are different type of rules. But yeah,
there's no rules.
I meant rules about growing, not rules about, don't show your knackers on fucking stream, you know what I mean? Because
Oh fuck, I haven't done it wrong.
you can do that on John's OnlyFans though, because he said he was going to be setting one up. You know what? I want to set up an OnlyFans. I want to set up an OnlyFans of me doing cooking and then covering the plate up with aluminium foil and then slowly taking it off to Marvin Gaye. I'm sure that there's a demographic for this.
There's definitely a demographic for that. Yeah. And then you take a stick and start beating the meat.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Get one of those tenderizing hammers as well, innit? Oh. Yeah. All you hear is dunk, 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 dunk. Is that what you like?
Yeah.
But yeah, don't worry too much about the stats. Just do your thing. I forgot what we were talking about now. So with live streaming, your, I guess, growth potential is a bit different compared to, I guess, YouTube. Because with YouTube, I guess you have to deal with the algorithm, don't you? With streaming, I guess it's... So here's the thing about streaming, which I learned is, and this is something which I've heard a lot of other content creators say as well, and I'm sure you've been, you know, witness to this as well, is you know how big Fortnite is. You know how it exploded and how it is with Ninja and Tim the Tatman, Disrespect, and all these other big names streaming it and all that kind of stuff, and how big it's gotten. And then you see all these other people, especially newer streamers or affiliates or whatever else. Everyone's like, you know what? Let's just play Fortnite on stream. Think about the potential. Yeah. There are millions of people playing Fortnite and their channels has 1 or 2 viewers versus you playing potentially a new game that's coming out and getting more viewership from there. You know, like it's basically so saturated at that point that you're basically shooting yourself in the foot, and that will end up leading you to being discouraged. So be the smart person and pick a different game. Something which you could think you'd enjoy over time and you could grow into. You know, like when I started streaming, Warframe was my main game, and now I do variety gaming because there are a lot more games out there which I would like to play. And me and John play so much co-op games as well on stream. By the way, you can check us out on Twitch. And you know, it's just one of those things that we do so much variety gaming in general, and you know, it's helped the channel in some ways. Like I remember when I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I didn't think my stream was going to do well. Surprisingly, that game actually ended up doing a lot well for my community and for my stream, as opposed to what I thought it would be. So you'd be surprised when you play some other games as well.
Yeah, I had the same. I remember when I first stepped outside of doing Warframe, because I used to just stream like twice a week, and it was always Warframe, because that's what my YouTube was. And I remember having the whole thought process of, well, if I do anything that's not Warframe, people won't want to watch. And then I remember doing, I think it was Aliens Isolation was the first.
Oh God, I remember that.
One of them where I'd done the complete playthrough of Alien Isolation, and the whole way through the playthrough of Alien Isolation, I had more viewers than I had doing Warframe. You know, and I had more interaction, and people, I got more subs, more new people coming to the community and followers. Yeah. With that than I would with my average Warframe stream. And some of those people are still sticking around and still being part of the community for months and last year or more. So I remember the first time doing that, and it was really bloody good. And then I remember them getting me to do Outlast, and it was the same. And you know, and it's kind of just been like that. That anytime I do a game that's not Warframe, which is most of the time, because I only do Warframe once a month now, once every 2 weeks, I still do the same amount of viewers as I would have done if it was just a Warframe stream. I've actually had Warframe streams doing less. So I think if I find that Twitch is more open, Twitch viewers are more open to you playing different games than what I guess maybe my YouTube is, because I have pigeonholed myself with Warframe on YouTube. Yeah. So they get used to just Warframe only. So when I do something else, like, wait a minute, what's this game? You know? So yeah, doing variety, with that whole saying, right? Variety is the spice of life. Yeah. You know, it's more enjoyable.
Well, you say that, but you can't even handle spices, but...
I can, dude. I can.
What, karma?
Fucking... Dude, I had the spiciest Greek yogurt ever last night for tea. Swear to God.
What did he have in it? Red chilies?
There was tears coming down. No, it was just Greek yogurt.
It's just Greek yogurt, so no,
just
no
natural
chilies
yogurt,
or anything else like that.
Yogurt. No, just white natural yogurt. That's all, dude. There's tears coming down my eyes with the spice.
Here's a question for you. I'm sorry, my Steam list just kind of popped up and it said Donald Trump is now playing Destiny 2. I got really confused for a second. I
bet he's a fucking
Yeah, he probably is. No, he's probably a Titan main. Fucking shoulder
Yeah,
charging
he would be,
everyone in
wouldn't
it.
Yeah.
But have you ever tried one of those chocolates with the chili in them?
No,
They're disgusting, by the way.
because I don't want to die.
Oh, that's well before the whole thing. I meant, like, have you ever?
Not really. No, to be honest, I think like I know I joke a lot about not having a level of spice and not being able to take spice.
Yeah.
I can take a degree of it before my nose starts running and I start sniffling and my eyes start watering and things like that. But never to the degree where I would actively eat something like that.
Yeah.
You know.
I think if you ever came around, I could cook you a curry that you'd enjoy, and it wouldn't make your face burn off.
And then you could bury me out in the back garden.
I don't have a garden, so I'll just throw you out in under the bus.
Under the fucking concrete.
Wait, we have a football stadium nearby. I could just do it in the pitch, underneath the pitch there. It's all good. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good kind of like coverage of all the topics regarding the content creation. I feel like even though these topics may have been a little bit more kind of like, for lack of a better word, vague, or a little bit, I guess, more of the basics, you'd be surprised with how people don't know about the basics or don't have the guidance. I'll tell you this from personal experience. When everything that I've done up to now with streaming, I've had to learn by myself. No one's there to help you. Everyone's out for themselves. Everyone's looking out for themselves, and everyone's doing everything. So you have to be smart. You have to pick up what you can. And if that means you're watching other content creators to be inspired from them and to learn from them, do it. There's nothing wrong with that. I watch people like Professor Broman or Gothalion or Shroud or, you know, other, what's his name, Dance Gaming, all these other people. There is always something to learn from someone else who is a lot more successful than you, and you can always integrate it into your own stream in a certain way that will help you. It doesn't always necessarily mean that it's for you, but you get a new perspective on how to deal with things. And that's the most important thing. What I've got for my stream, what you've got for your YouTube channel, for your streams, and our social media platforms and everything else is built up through experience that we've got. I didn't have that experience starting off. I'm sure you didn't have any of that experience when you started off as well, and you had to learn as you go as well.
No, I was working on building sites when I started off, so
Yeah.
it was everything was completely new to me, you know.
Yeah, like when I started, I had just finished university. I had just graduated from university like a year or so after. That's when I started streaming. So I knew about game design, but I didn't know about streaming. I didn't even know what Twitch was at the time properly. I knew what Justin TV was, but not what Twitch was. And
God, yeah, I remember I used to watch South Park reruns on Justin TV.
Yeah. God, it's crazy to think about it though, like how Twitch and content creation and YouTube has evolved over the years. Like you think about it, 5 years ago, I would never have thought that this would have been a viable job prospect for us. Like,
yeah, I was like the whole Justin TV, right? Justin TV used to be a network basically where they would show anything, you know. So you could have people doing reruns of games. There could be people like I think Towley and all them were doing games at the time on Justin TV.
Yeah,
and then there was people doing South Park. Then there was people doing sports, and then there was people doing cooking shows, and it was literally all these things. And then Twitch became about doing the gaming platform.
Yeah.
And now they're doing cooking shows, they're doing sports, it's literally reverting back
to
just
what
on
it
a much bigger kind of scale than what it used to be, you know? Like they're even doing politics on it now as well.
Oh, you know what? One of the channels,
American politicians now.
One of the channels I followed. Did they?
Yeah, a lot of them got false copyright claims against them. They've been reverted, I believe. But yeah,
that's amazing. One of the channels that I followed was the UK Parliament one, and you could just watch them having like arguments and everything else. And I've forgotten what the guy who basically goes order, order. I've forgotten his name. The chairman,
John Berklow.
Yeah, that's the one. And you know him having a go at everyone else as well. I used to love watching that. It was terrible
he was
because
such an arse, though.
Oh yeah, exactly. It was terrible, but at the same time, it was so entertaining to watch. You know, that shit show.
Yeah.
The UK government casually. And then I remember when Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump were streaming as well on Twitch, where they were having their rallies.
That was happened. That's what it was the other night. It was a Democratic rally.
Yeah.
So it was the watch call between all of the candidates, the debate, and apparently someone came in and copyright claimed all of the people who were streaming it for. And it was an agency that worked for the Democratic Party. They were saying they were
Yeah.
streaming it all illegally, you know. So
Right. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I think that should be a good coverage of all the topics. As always, John, thank you very much for joining for the podcast today as well. This podcast, by the way, I figured it out now, how to put the podcast on multiple platforms. So when this episode goes live on YouTube, hopefully it'll be going live on Spotify, iTunes, Grinder, Grinder is not a fucking podcast platform. That's something else. No. I forgot what the name was called.
I'm not going up. I didn't sign up for that.
I don't mean Grinder. I mean Breaker and whatever else was my bad.
It's too late. You said it now, dude. I know what's on your mind now. Fucking hell.
I was looking at the different platforms. Okay, yeah, Google Podcasts.
What were you looking at?
Breaker, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, and a bunch of other things. Like, it automatically does it. So whatever platform you guys use for the podcast, you can find it all on there. And obviously the links will be updated and everything else as well. Thank you very much for joining for the podcast. I shall see you guys in the next one.